tales from the flatlands and deep roots. Hello, Mike Bolin, and welcome to the 10th edition of the Flatlanders Show. I can't believe I've done 10 of these. It's been quite a journey. But we're back with number 10, and before we get started, I just wanted to say a few things. I don't get enough chance to get in front of the camera, and that's what a friend of mine was telling me. Right now, I'm the only one doing it, so I have to constantly move the camera. It's such a hassle, usually, especially if it's an instructional video, like these last 3 episodes have been with silversmithing. I think that just shooting what I'm shooting is best and explaining it sort of from the background. As we go along, hopefully on those type videos, the quality will improve. But also I'm looking at the views and how the views are going. The last 3 episodes have been on silversmithing. It started out, we were up at around 250, and this last episode I did, we're only up at about 65 now. I don't know if we'll break 100. And so that's telling me a couple of things about this, and that's that it's losing interest on the instructional part. And as I said from the very beginning, I didn't want to do instructional silversmithing. That's not my bag. There's a lot around the high plains I want to cover, and there's a lot of interesting things. I'm just trying to build up a base of people who like the direction it's going, and the direction it's going is where it was. And you can watch the very first episode. It's all about the high plains. It's all about Flatlanders. It's about what we do here in this part of the country and all the cool stuff we do. Okay, with that being said, as far as today's episode, well, I'm going to continue, and I'm going to set the stone in Chicago John's bolo, where I'm also going to show you how we're going to make the tips. So it should be pretty interesting as far as making more progress on the bolo. But we won't finish it today, because I'm also going to show you something about engraving, because engraving is a really important part of jewelry making, and I don't engrave, I stamp, and that's what a lot of silversmiths do, and I want to show you that process. But I also want to show you some engravers that we bought, some old antique ones, the kind that you used to see. And this is pre-Walmart and TG&Y and in stores, thrift stores, and here in the U.S. back in the 60s and 70s. I guess Kmart would be the last one of those old ones that's faded away. But they used to all have jewelry departments, and then they'd have engraving machines like the ones that we picked up off eBay. And I'm going to show you those. They're pretty interesting. And the reason why is I had somebody come in and they wanted me to engrave a lighter. And so I had these machines. My partner had picked them up, and I just never had time to really mess with them. And so I started fooling with them, and they're fascinating. As far as how practical they are, they're really not. But I'm going to show you that, and it's a pretty long segment. It takes me about 10 or 15 minutes to successfully demonstrate how these things work or don't work, depending on how you look at it. So we're going to do that as well, and hopefully, when it's all said and done, though, I'll have shown you this engraving process, and also we'll have Chicago John's piece ready to go. And I'm also going to get to show you our rolling machine in this episode. And we have a rolling machine we bought last year, and I haven't previewed it on any of the shows, and it is really a neat machine, and it's going to help us make the tips for this bolo. So let's get started. Okay, I'll just start out with a look at the different engravers I'm going to be dealing with today. And the first one we'll look at is this one right here, and both of these are New Hermes is the brand of them. I think Hermes is how you Hermes is how you pronounce that. Anyway, they're quite old. These machines, a lot of times you'd see them in the past in stores like TG&Y. A lot of people might not remember that, or Woolworth. This was a real popular one. Because they would engrave rings, and that's what this one does. It has this area here that holds a ring, and I'm going to try 3 rings in here different kind of rings and see how it engraves. You put the piece in here, and then you adjust the size so it'll grab that ring. And after you grab the ring, it's got a stylus up in here, and then down here it has this plate, and this fits down into the plate, you can see the different letters and the numbers that are offered, and it doesn't offer much. And I haven't looked this particular model up yet, but what I'm wondering, but for the first thing I'll do is I'll pull this off. Let's just pull it off right now and see if there's another plate on the other side. I don't know if there is, but it sure would make sense if, yeah, there you go. Exactly what's back there. You have just a regular letters and numbers. It's not a Times Roman, it's a sans serif type, almost like an Arial type, but you have all the caps of the alphabet, some different signs and numbers. On this one, it's more elaborate, more of a script type. So we'll experiment with that with a while. And then there's this machine, very interesting machine. It has a little motor on it right here that actually runs this stylus, which is which is back here, and under this, that belt turns, and it turns this top part, and this thing rotates down in here, and it helps with the engraving process. Same principle, mechanical principle, as the one that we just looked at for the rings, except in this one, you can see you have these letters up here, and it came with all of these. These are basic sans serif caps and numbers, and then also a bigger box, a script that's a lot more elaborate. And we've had these machines in the shop for a while, and I'd never tried them out. And we had the opportunity this past week. We had a customer that wanted us to engrave a lighter, and so of course now they have laser engraving. They have laser engraving that's attached to a computer, so you can pre-screen and look at everything. Far more advanced than this old mechanical method, even though these old mechanical methods in a limited fashion can do some excellent engraving. And I'll show you on this one. Excuse me. When I was getting ready to engrave this lighter, I practiced, and what I practiced on was hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it'll says Gary on there and some letters, and that was done with this machine. And what this was is it was one of my old molds. Some people think it belongs to Gary, but it doesn't. But I wanted to do it on something hard. I just wanted to see how, I didn't want to mess up any silver either. So I tried, and it did a pretty good job, and I was on the edge. Then I went in town and saw a company that uses a laser engraver. After I saw what they could do, I immediately said, take this job, please, and do your best. And they did a job that was far superior than anything I could accomplish with this machine. Okay, I put in another ring that's a little easier, I think, to do. It's more round. I can tell you already that this took some practice. And when you consider a lot of these, there used to be kids in the store, I mean high school kids working there that could operate these with a very professionally. I mean, I can remember not having rings, but the same kind of system, having the ID bracelets engraved. They were the rage when I was a kid. Anyway, I've got it. We're gonna try now. We're gonna go to the letter E. I'm gonna try it, and I'll push up on it to make contact, and then just start making the outline with this cursor down here. Push down a little. I think the key is there's a key to doing it. I mean, it's really, you have to, there's a lot of moving parts really, and you have to really pay attention. Let's see if I was able to do anything with the efficiency. Yeah, I got a D and an E in there, and they look okay. It would take some practice, but they look okay. Okay, now we've got up the 50s or 60s. New Hermes engravograph. And then just a little preview, we'll turn it on and I'll show you how this one actually has a motor on it. Uh-oh, that ain't right. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't tear it up. I got it caught down in that motor. Uh-oh, almost did, but not quite. Pay closer attention, I didn't do that belt any good. You just strip that off or it'll just keep on a tearing. I know about these things. Let's see. Yeah, let me do a little. There it goes. Yeah, this is something. It's a little out of balance. I'll have to trim on those a little before I go on to the final deal. I wanted to show you the components. What I did is, first of all, there's some of all the letters. I mean, I've got boxes of letters. If I went through the boxes of letters, what I'd put on there to put on the back of this old pendant down there, you can see right down there, what I'd use is I'd use the word subscribe. So maybe some of you viewers would subscribe. We get quite a few viewers, not many subscribers. Anyway, instead of that though, I found the initials BS, and for this Monday morning, that's an appropriate initial for me. And I'm going to put BS in the back of this, hopefully, and we'll see how it comes out. I'll get back and get this set up. Like I said, I have tried this when I showed you the example. I'll get all this set up, and I'll be right back. Well, this has been a doozy to set. I finally pulled this out. I could never get it to make good contact with this one. It has other plates on it, but they hadn't been changed in probably 30 or 40 years. So you can see all those screws are all rusted up. I'd have to take the whole assembly apart. So instead I opted to go ahead and do show it on the stamp pad that I practiced on a day before yesterday. Anyway, I'll turn it on, and I think we can I can get my BS in there. And get all my BS done. Put it in there, I'll put it down on the piece. Now you can hear it. You can hear it making. You can see that belt swelling up. In its day, I bet you it was really this was really some technology back in the 60s. And it has some really pretty font. So let's pull it off and look at it. So there you go, BS. It got some BS done. But the quality is okay, I guess. But it's still, juice isn't worth the squeeze, in my opinion. Okay, well we've seen the mechanical method. Now this is the old school method, and this is what I used to do most of my pieces. I have stamps. This is a sterling .925. I have one that says sterling. The letters I use are HB. The B I put lay on its side, and the H, that's my symbol for my studio. And then I have one of these bent shanked, which allows you to go in and put it inside a ring and get the .925 in. And all you do is just whack it. And what do you whack it with? Well, I've tried all kinds of hammers. I've used this for a long time, but with a problem with it, it wasn't heavy enough. And sometimes it wouldn't catch all of whatever was on the stamp. There would be a side that would be a little weak. And so I started using a small brass hammer, and that's what I've used to this day with the interruption, because the brass is still, hand stamping is tough. It's an acquired skill. And so I bought one of these. It was sold to me by the guys at Rio Grande, and most of their stuff I've had luck with. This is supposed to be something that is going to allow you to hit it without glancing the blow and messing up the stamp. It never worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. Okay, I got to thinking about it, and I pulled out the piece I was doing for Chicago John, and I haven't stamped it, so I'll just show you how I stamp it. I said I stamped on the stamping block, and I do if things are flat. If things have ridges on them, if you stamp on this, it's going to flatten it out on this side. And what I use is a pitch pad, and this is used for repose work, and a lot of people, they work metal on it. I use it like this. And why? Because it has a little give in it. What kind of give? Well, you can see that it's got a whole lot more give in this, and it also allows so it's not going to bend anything. It's not going to flatten out. And what I like to do is I'll just heat it up just a little bit, and I want it right there. I'll just let it sit because it's nasty stuff you get on everything, and I'll put it right there though. That'll hold it a little bit, and then I'll come back, and I also, as you can see, I'm gonna reposition the camera. Sorry about the wiggle. On top of it, you can see that I drew a little grid in there, and I always do that. And because I'm really anal about getting the stamp straight. That's why I draw it off. A lot of guys are like, my friends are like, man, nobody's gonna know. I know is the bottom line, and I like things to line up. So on the top of it, I'm gonna stamp the name, my name HB, and I put one on one line, one on the next, so I'll know where to line up my B. I'm not used to doing this with a camera in the way. Let's see if I can get it done. And a good little smart whack. Got my H perfect. Next my B. There it is, instead of be straight, so I turn it on a half, and I turn it, I'm going to set it a little, I know how to do this because I got a little light here. I hope it doesn't affect what y'all are seeing, but I like to move it in just about to there. I think will work. Like I said, I've stamped a bunch of these, so HB, pretty good. Okay, now I'll come back. Thing you have to always be careful with these, especially if they're going to get rusted, is you can see your point, in this case 0.925. I'm going to bring my light back. I want it to sit right about on that line, middle of the stamp. This one is the hardest to get completely flush, but pretty dadgum good. 0.925 HB, stamped. Hand stamped, authentic looking, handmade looking. That's what I love about it. Okay, so we looked at some of the engraving, and as you can tell from my comments as well as what you saw, just doing it with a stamp is a lot better for me. Someday, I don't know, we might invest in a laser engraver. I just looked a little bit to get an idea of what we might be talking about money-wise for something that would handle enough needs around the shop to warrant its use. And it's about $5,000 or $6,000 to get in price, so it'll be a while before I get one of those. Until then, I have a really good person here locally who does laser engraving, and that's what I'll do on my more complex projects. I'll still do my hand stamping, and I might work a little bit with that one ring engraver on some bigger bands. I'll just have to see. The rest of them I'll probably put back on eBay. Okay, now we're ready to move on to Chicago John's piece. I'm going to move the camera, move in a little bit, and we'll go from there. Okay, the way I decided to do this is I decided I wanted to embed it into the silver. There's lots of ways you can do it. You could take your rotary tool and some sandpaper or a coarse piece of stone like this one, and you could get it level, put some bezel wire in it, and mount it with bezel wire. The problem with that is with this big piece, because this stone was sort of an afterthought, and this big piece, the problem is when you heat it up, there's a good chance that the back piece is going to come off, and it's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Mounting it this way difficult. The way I do it is I'll just outline the stone, then I'll just take some little drill bits and I'll go around the entire thing, and that's what I've done here. And I'll get it to where it'll work with the stone, and then as I get the stone, you know, a little bit more worked in, I can adjust the stone on my lapidary with my lapidary tools, or I can just work it out with this, and that's what I've been doing. And what I'll do around the edges of it is I save all my silver dust, and I'll use that to dust in around the edges. I'm going to work on it a little bit longer, get a little bit closer, and then I'll come back. When I'm trying to bond a stone into silver and using an adhesive, I've tried a lot of things over the years, and I found this product a couple of years ago. It's called Star Bond, and it is a type of super glue, but it says high performance premium, and it is an excellent product. I mean, I've never had a stone fall out except for one time, and it was on a ring that I did for a friend of mine that we had to mount it like this. And the reason it came out is the ring came off and hit the concrete as a moonstone, and it chipped the moonstone. It put a crack down the middle of it. When that happened, it worked out. We found the stone, but it was cracked in two. So what I commonly will do, I use the thin on this, and I've already put some on the stone. The medium sets up pretty quick, but thin it takes a little longer. And what I'll do is I'll put a little bond around the stone, and then this is the silver dust that I saved when I was drilling it out. I'll take my tweezers and I'll just go around and fill that in, and I'll let it set up overnight, and then I'll come back in and I'll use a combination of files and sandpaper, and I'll get it, and when I'm finished polishing it, it'll really look smooth. Okay, see, oh, I just saw that through my lens. Didn't cut myself on the bench. I actually cut myself sharpening my knife. I'm a hazard. Anyway, here we are. It's bonded. I have a good bond. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in. First of all, I'll just sand just a little and show you the process. I'll just go very lightly along that stone, and I'll work around so I can see exactly the kind of bond I got. One of the things I noticed, and I saw this when I was doing it, but I didn't adjust it, and I can make this work. It's because these were drill filings, they had some pieces in them that were pretty big. Now I can sand them down and everything, and they'll look okay, but I might have to add a little bit more. I hope not. Like I say, you can see I take it gentle, and I'm going to go through, and I love this rotary tool because my Fordhams I call them, and that's what I've always called them, because that's a brand name. And they're just, I mean, I used to use hobbycraft stuff, you know, the Dremels. I had Dremel benches, I had Dremel flex shafts, but they were always rechargeable. And if you're looking at this, especially if you're new, I wouldn't skimp any money on rotary tool. I know there are other ones besides Fordham's. It's the one I grew up on, sorta. I'm not getting any money from them. I wish I did, but they're really good machines. But I'm going to go through, and I'm just going to start working it in like that, and generally clean up the stone. All this stuff, you know, I can take it off with solvent, but I won't need to because there's a lot of rough spots on it still. It still hadn't been finished out very good. Because I never knew on the front, I'd always entertain the idea that I might try heating it up again. But now that I know we're coming to the climax of it, for this part, I'm just going to get it finished out as quickly as I can, get it ready, and then we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you the how I make the bolo tips. Voila! That's what it'll look like. Pretty much polished as much as I'll polish it. Get a little bit more after we get the tips on, but it's gonna look pretty nice. That insert job came out pretty good. And using that silver dust can really help you in a lot of things. Okay, next we're going to do this. I'll put this off to the side a little bit. We're going to build the tips. We're going to build the tips that'll fit there. And how am I going to do this? I don't know yet. Well, I sort of do. First of all, you can tell by the thickness of that, it's pretty thick. I actually make bracelets out of these. They make pretty good bracelets. And it's from an ingot that I poured that I gradually thinned out to bracelet size. Then I had this leftover piece. I'm going to go over next and set up over at the rolling mill, and we're going to flatten it out and thin it out to pretty thin, and then I'll show you what I have in mind to create these tips. And they're going to have to give you an idea of what they're going to have to do. Here's one on a smaller one. They're sort of cone shaped, and of course mine are going to be a lot thicker. I'll try to get something to where this is a piece I cast, an arrowhead I cast for decorative purposes for different projects. But that's what we're going to create, except it's going to be a lot thicker and a lot more massive. I'll go set up another machine and we'll get started. So this is our rolling mill, and we didn't go with the Durston. That's what Rio Grande Jewelry sells. We looked at a lot of them, and we wanted to get something that was electric because we knew eventually we were going to be processing a lot of metal, because we can create so much in this. On this side over here, we can actually create wire. On this side, we actually is where we're going to take this piece and we are going to thin it out to make the ends of the bolo. It's very simple how it operates. As far as there's two rollers in there, they're a little difficult for you to see, but this controls how close they come together. As I go clockwise, they tighten down. Counterclockwise, they come back. See, that's all the way. It's roller to roller right there. You're back. There you go. And the only parts really on it that do anything, of course, it's got this power drive on it, this X drive, that gives it an unbelievable amount of gear advantage over the Durstons as we did our research. And it's at a considerable price decrease, even though Pepe Tools is a well-known company for silversmithing tools and all kinds of tools. Anyway, what it has is it'll go forward, reverse, stop. We'll go forward, we'll kick it on, and you can hear it. Now this increases it, this decreases it. My deal, the way I've been working on it, is slow is always best. I'm still investigating this. I've done some work on it, but not nearly as much as I will in the future. So we'll go ahead and we'll start, and I will move this over just a little, and we will run it through. And the way I run it through, first I'll stop it. Then I'll put these together. I'll straighten up my piece. And as we go through this process, I'll have to anneal this metal probably twice, which will give it back some of its flexibility. Running it through this and working it the way I have to work it, it tends to harden it up. So I'll have to anneal it. We'll go through that process. I'm looking at it right now. I really think one of the things I'm going to start with is cutting it in half. I'm going to go do that first. Okay, so I cut it in two. First time I'll just run it through once. I'll put it through, make sure it's going to go through. It does. And I'll bring it down to where it makes contact. And I can still slide it out a little bit. And I'll bring it down just a little. This is a thing of feel. And I'll turn it on. We'll go at that speed in this first pass. And I'll get back here and I'll kick it. Then I'll come down says you can come down a half. I usually like to come down a quarter, a little over a quarter in the beginning. Get it straight. Sort of counterintuitive how you keep it from bending out of shape. I'll come down again. And we're getting some bend out of it. Come down again. A little bit more. There it goes. Really hear it bite. You could hear the engine of it give a little bit. I'll bring y'all back in as I near my destination. As you can see, it's getting there. You can tell this one especially how much wider this one has gotten. And I'm going to run it through again. Bring it down a little bit more. Now you can tell just how quickly it goes to work, and see the flexibility of it there. It's almost, you can tell, it's almost there. Okay, I set the bolo aside to just give you an idea of what I'm thinking, what my thinking is on this. And I'm going to use, I've got a piece of bolo cord that's the right cord, and I'm thinking that this is going to be long enough, like this piece right here will be plenty long. And what I want to do is I want to roll it, and we'll use this as a guide, sort of. You can see how that's cone, how that's, well, I'm going to try to do the same thing. However, how I'm going to try to do it, I've got this small mandrel that I use for a lot of stuff. It's not graduated, it's not marked. I just use it for, it's really good when you're dealing with trying to size a ring and you can't get in it. It's so small, like on a pinky ring or something. But my theory is I can bend this around this. I can get it. This is how big it needs to be around, so you got an idea what I'm up against. Anyway, this is going to take some wrangling, so I'm going to shut the camera off until I get it going right, because I might use some real choice words before I get even close. Okay, now I'll show you where I got today. Here we go. That's what I was able to create. The way I created those was I didn't have to use but one side of it. I just used one of these. I got it a little bit thinner. I ran it through a couple more times. Then, with the help of my wubbers, I got started with the bend. Then, with the help of this, I sort of sized it, and I put on here approximately where I thought the size they'd need to be. And then I've been just experimenting with them and thinking about how I'm going to put them all together. They're going to require a good deal of work, but I can be thinking about them in between now and tomorrow, the next day when I get down here. And you can see it's like rolling a cigarette. Well, we'll say it's like rolling a cigarette, you know. And I get them down there. Once I get them in place, I'm going to have to weld them. It's going to be a delicate job, but you know, that's silversmithing. I would like to sort of emboss something on them. I don't know if I get that aggressive this time. We'll just see. Once I get them the right size, we'll see. I might try to pull one back apart and see if I can emboss a little thing on it. If not, it's just going to be plain. But I think that'll look good for the for this. I think it's going to, you know, it's gonna look fine for this when you get them down there. Just imagine them on there. They're gonna look big, and they're gonna look bold like this piece. But I'm gonna design it as we go along. I'll be thinking on it quite a bit in between now and then. So that's gonna end us up for today. But I bet you it's gonna look pretty special. Well, each episode a little more progress on the bolo. We could have finished it today if I wouldn't have included the piece about the antique engravers, but I just thought those things were interesting. And I hope you enjoyed the footage. But we on the next episode we're gonna build the tips for the bolo, and we're gonna put them on, and that'll about get it done. as I showed you in this episode, how we're going to do it, and showed you our rollers. Our rolling machine is really cool. We're going to be using it in the next episode quite a bit. It's going to be a first time of trying to do this, of building them this way. So it ought to be a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll learn as much as y'all do. Anyway, until the next time, please hit that like and subscribe button. And also, if you leave a comment, you'll be eligible for our first of the summer drawing, where we're going to give away that coin bracelet that I built and I showed in past episodes. So, until next time, y'all have a great day and a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time on the Flatlanders Show.
Be there to switch.